Hi everyone, it's Sue again, and boy, can you believe that we are moving on to modules 3 and 4. I just am amazed at how far we've come already in just 1 week. So if you remember last week, we had an overview of the course and we began to talk just a little bit about that idea of intrinsic bias as your introductory reading for the course. I think for all of us, it's so important that we recognize what we bring with us to any given situation. We see it in the news a lot now around race, but absolutely intrinsic bias comes up when we look at older people, when we look at anyone, any kind of population, any kind of group, maybe people with disabilities, maybe people with different gender identities. It's so important that we really reflect on ourselves and how we see the world. And also as nurses, it's not enough to stop there. It's not just reflecting on ourselves, it's looking beyond ourselves and this idea of emancipatory knowing. We know all the kinds of ways of knowing, but emancipatory knowing means that we come to a realization that not only do we look at the world, survey the world and what's going on with people in their lives and we bear witness to it, but additionally we respond to it. So when we see injustice, when we see circumstances that have an impact on health, or the circumstances that we perceive to be not fair, then we have a responsibility as nurses, as healthcare providers, to intervene. And so that's a beginning of a discussion, and hopefully that will carry on for you in other courses. Certainly you'll talk about it a little bit in nursing theory as you move on to that in the fall, and then you'll talk about it in community as you have that next summer for your clinical course. So happy to just begin that conversation. I know for many of you, you have developed far-ranging perspectives on that, and this is just like a little drop in the bucket. We also began to look at maternal child care. How exciting. And so we will continue that this week and actually wrap up those modules. We did 2 simulations last week. We did a PPE simulation and fantastic debrief. So proud of you, really wonderful work. And also was getting into the swing of it. Remember that we did a live debrief, and then you had your first simulation that involved the group discussion board, for those of you who are doing simulations this summer, and that was around prenatal assessment. And so you did that in your discussion board, and you have 2 analytical reflective assignments due on, they were due on Monday. I'm going to make an announcement about that as well. So fantastic work. We focused on the roles of leader, and I'm trying to think just off the top, educator, leader and educator within those 2. So leader with your COVID PPE and educator with your prenatal assessment. So this week, let's see where we're going to go. We're going to continue maternal child nursing, but I've really tried. Now, remember I said, I am going to do my very best to be smart about this, but I can't pare down the course so much that it's not of value to you. So in maternal child, we've got this covered really well because the government funded some special modules through Ryerson, funded through the government, housed at Ryerson. I am going to rely heavily on those because I believe that they provide essential content in a way that's very engaging and really helps you. As we move into PEDS, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that, and I will just be able to talk more about the tip of the iceberg and give you examples as you move forward about where you'll study for NCLEX. But maternal child, we've got it pretty well covered with these modules, and I'm very content that you are going to have a strong knowledge base here. And so that's what we're going to rely on. And this week, it's not typical, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit of space for breathing. I can't carry this on through the course because we calculate hours and other things. But for this week, for the 2 modules this week, the preparation for the simulations is the same as the preparation for the class. Shh, don't tell anyone. So the preparation for the simulations is going to be the same as what you're studying for in the theory component that's going to be on your test next week. So here's what you've got and I'll put this in your folder as well, just as a doc, so you can copy these links. The first module, module 3, is labor and birth. How exciting. Although I'm not a postpartum, or I'm not a labor and delivery or postpartum nurse by nature, it is a really excellent module. And then module 4 is going to be postpartum and newborn care. Excellent again. And I bet many of you work in that area, so we'd love to hear it, especially in the debriefs, either the live debrief or the discussion board debrief. So for labor and birth, we've got some of those Ryerson modules, module 1 to 9 of the labor and birth modules, labor and birth learning learning package, and there's the link. And then there's also a really excellent link, 7 minutes, really well done, on postpartum hemorrhage, because that's really a critical component that we're watching for and responding to quite quickly. And then I've also got a link here for you for the Principles of Family-Centered Maternal Newborn Care in Canada, and that's from 2017. That's really important. That's a good NCLEX focus. All of these NCLEX focus. And I'm trying to really, as much as I can, bring out the highlights for you. And then in Module 4, and it's funny we call them Module 3 and Module 4, but remember this course is compressed. They both happen in 1 week. Is postpartum and newborn care. How exciting. And again, many of you probably work in postpartum care. Certainly you will have studied this in your RPN program. So hopefully it will be a refresher and also bring you a little bit forward. So we're going to go look at those Ryerson modules again. There's module 1 to 6 of maternity postpartum. And then there's modules 1 to 7 of the newborn, right? So newborn care, newborn assessment, newborn care. Sound okay? And remember, the same elements of all of these theory prep will be in your simulation prep. So let's look at that. For your simulation, oh my gosh. So as you know, I'm an emergency nurse. And so of course I had to have a little bit of an emergency, and Sim 3 with the live debrief, postpartum hemorrhage. How exciting. So you'll all have to do it and tell me what you think. But when we're looking at postpartum complication, postpartum hemorrhage is a fantastic one to look at. So again, assigned in the coursework, but you'll see particularly we're looking at the postpartum complications, module 4 there. And then there's also that wonderful 7-minute YouTube video that really covers postpartum hemorrhage. For Sim 4, we've got neonatal assessment. That's the one that's going to be in your group debrief. And I want you to look at modules 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those newborn care. So you'll see what I've done for the Sims is I've typically pared down what you would have had for your theory readings to really focus on what we're doing for the Sims. And again, it's going to be posted in your folder, so take a look. And a reminder to sign up for the times for your debrief for Sim 3, which is the live debrief. The ARAs, you've got 2 ARAs due again, analytic reflective assignments. The first one for labor and birth, so when we have our Sim for postpartum hemorrhage, wow, I love it. Focuses on the clinician role. Every single week we're focusing on the clinician role and also the communicator role. And remember, those will be found in your the clinical tool, the evaluation tool that your faculty advisor is going to be using to do your midterm assessment and your final assessment. So what we want is your faculty advisor to be able to say, yes, I can see that she can apply the concepts in the clinician role. I can see that she can apply she or he can apply the concepts in the communicator role. So again, if you haven't yet found that document, hopefully you have, because you would have needed it for modules 1 and 2. It is under virtual clinical tools or something like that. And I sent out an announcement. So look at that assessment form as well, that tool, clinical evaluation tool. And also in the ARA, I've tried to draw your attention to the specific competencies we're looking at. For the postpartum and newborn care, and that's a neonatal assessment scenario, we're going to focus again always on clinician role, but also on scholar role here. And scholar is how do you bring literature, how do you bring resources and into a situation. So really helpful, I think, for us to have some diversity in those. And guess what? That's it. So again, I'm looking forward to a fantastic week. We're moving at lightning speed. Hang in. You guys are doing great. You're working through a different setup and a different learning platform, and working through virtual sims. You're the first group to be 100% virtual sims. And all I can say, sorry again, is how fantastic the debriefs were last week. And I was so pleased. It's important that everyone try to participate. It's going to be really important that you do that. And if you weren't able to really jump in last week, bring yourself this week if you can. It's going to be important for you to do that. Also, don't forget to use the chat function. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, and things are moving along, but you want to say something, type it into that chat function, because the facilitator is going to keep looking to that chat function. We're hoping, I am so sorry about this, we're hoping this week your faculty advisors will all be in Canvas with you. They will begin, the faculty advisors will begin moving through the debriefs, and also each of you will be assigned a particular faculty advisor. And whenever you're doing the discussion board debrief, that your own faculty advisor there'll be a faculty advisor to each of the groups, and that faculty advisor will facilitate that with you, and also will look at all of your ARAs and give you some basic feedback around that. But otherwise, happy Canada Day coming up on Wednesday, and I hope you're having a good week. I know this is a lot of work. I've tried my very best to pare it down, and I think it's really reasonable given what we're doing, but I also appreciate you're working really hard, and I'm grateful for your patience and your tolerance and your incredible enthusiasm and your grace. So we are very fortunate to have you in this program, and we are working as hard as we can to honor the work that you are doing as you move your way through. So I'll talk to you again soon, but for now, I'll sign off here and say hang in, email me, or get in touch with me whenever you need something, and I will try my very best to respond as quickly as I can. I look forward to carrying on with the course.